Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, Out of Voice Radio. So today, I am showing you another very exciting new GX card from the upcoming expansion, Burning Shadows. It's Alolan Muk, a Pokemon that's gotten an awful lot of love from the Sun and Moon trading card game. We've already gotten this Alolan Muk in Sun and Moon, more on him later. But you know what, he's playable in the video game, he's one of the Alolan Pokemon. I suppose he deserves a little bit of love. And he's got 250 HP, which you might notice is the highest we've ever had for a Stage 1 GX up to now. They've all had 200 or 210. Muk is bucking the trend. And don't forget that we are getting an Alolan Grimer in this set, which for 0 energy, Alolan Pokemon have free attacks, allows you to search for an Alolan Grimer and put it straight onto your bench. It means that you're not going to be ending the turn having your only Pokemon KO'd, because you'll have a second. It helps you to set up for the future. Now, Alolan Muk being weak to fighting is a bit of a pain with Lycanroc, and as I mentioned in my video yesterday, Marshadow looking pretty gosh darn good. The resistance to Psychic combined with the 220 HP means that he's likely to take a hit or two from Garbodor, which is a big thing at the moment, and the retreat cost is huge, but it's Muk, and you know, use a heavy ball, it'll be fine. Now, the first attack here I like an awful lot. For a Dark and Do colourless, so you can use double colourless here, you do 10 damage plus 70 more for each special condition on your opponent's active. 1 special condition 80 damage, 2 special conditions 150, 3 special conditions 220. So, the question here is, how do we get these special conditions on there? And as a side note, we're really looking for 2 special conditions here. 2 special conditions is 150, add Choice Band means 180, which for your Drampa, your Darkrai, etc. is going to be enough to get the KO. And then of course you can always add a Professor Kukui to knock it up to 200 and get a KO on a whole bunch of Stage 1 GXs. Now, the obvious solution here is using Salazzle. You evolve up, and it's a one-time thing, but don't forget you can use Devolution Spray to devolve and then re-evolve the following turn. You then evolve up, and your opponent's active is automatically poisoned and burned. Which first of all gives you the 2 status conditions needed to hit the 150, 180 with Choice Band, but it also means you've got Poison and you've got Burn. Now, Poison does 10 damage between turns, which is a handy bonus, and Burn does 20 damage between turns. Flip a coin. If heads, you're no longer burned. So the minimum you're going to be doing here after using this ability is an extra 30 damage, and that's only going to go up between turns. If they don't get out the active and they don't flip heads on burn, that's another 30 damage they're taking the following turn. And don't forget, of course, that you can use Devolution Spray, like I said, to pick up Salazzle, but we're also getting Acerola in Burning Shadows, which means as long as there's some damage on Salazzle, you can actually pick it up so that you can then pop down the Salandit and re-evolve the following turn. So there are options here for reusing, which are pretty nice. Now, Salazzle is really the best option as far as I'm concerned, but there are some others. We've got Hypno that gives you automatic sleep. The problem is it's automatic sleep to both your opponent's active and yourself, so you've got to get a way to get out of the active or else you're going to be asleep, and it's quite difficult to attack when you are asleep. We've got Ariados that does automatic poison and of course can be combined with Forest of Giant Plants to evolve up whenever you feel like it, but that's likely to rotate after the World Championships anyway, something to bear in mind. Hypno probably won't, but I can't guarantee. We've got Poison Barb. If your opponent attacks you, they get poisoned. Of course, this is somewhat unreliable here, because your opponent's got to attack into it and they can just not attack, or they can play an escape rope to get you out the active, or they can use a field blower to get rid of Poison Barb before they attack. They have got a whole bunch of things they can do, but it is an option. And don't forget there's a Viper coming in Burning Shadows. I've done a video on him, link in the description. And the Viper means that all your poison does an extra 10 damage between turns. So with one Viper it's not 10 damage, it's 20. And we can build this up. So let's say you've got your Salazzle there with your poison and your burn. plus you've got Alolan Muk and Force Viper on the bench. Well, now, with the 2 special conditions, you're doing 140, plus the 10 base is 150, plus the 20 for burn is 170, plus the choice band is 200, plus the 10 for poison is 210, plus the Force Viper is 250. Yes, I know that's quite a big combination. Yes, I know that's a lot to ask for. But it is entirely possible, ladies and gentlemen. Although, to be fair, that will also then completely fill your bench, given that Force Viper plus Salazzle plus Alolan Muk equals 6 Pokemon, which means you don't have a backup attacker ready to go. It's still possible. The reality is, you're really not going to be doing 250 here. You're likely to be aiming for about 180, maybe a little bit more if poison or burn is coming in. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? That's okay. And don't forget that these are just some of the options we have now. Alolan Muk, we can imagine, is going to be legal for 2 or 3 years, and during that time, there's going to be a whole bunch of other Pokemon that are going to be made legal, that are going to be released in these future sets that we might be able to use. Now, there is a second attack here, but I'm going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, it's not particularly good. Too dark, too colourless, so again, I suppose double colourless energy is in play. 120, and you automatically discard a card from your opponent. Now, 120 is one of these classic 1-hit KO if they're weak, 2-hit KO if they're not attacks. And it's alright. I mean, 120 is enough to KO a Garbodor, for instance. Automatically discarding an energy is good, but I'm going to be honest with you, as a 4 energy attack, it's just not good enough. Now, ideally here, if you really want to play Energy Denial, we've got the promo Lycanroc. You combine that 2 energy attack with a choice band and a whole bunch of hammers, then we're talking, ladies and gentlemen. That is an Energy Denial deck that I can get behind. I just don't like the idea that I'm putting 4 energy on a Pokemon and I'm not getting a big 1-hit KO, I'm getting a 2-hit KO while discarding energy, but if my opponent gets the energy on there, then they're KOing me, and I really don't like this at all. Sorry. And then we get to the GX attack, and this to me, ladies and gentlemen, is incredibly interesting, because it's a free GX attack. We've never seen a free GX attack before, and poor Alolan Ninetales. We do have an Alolan form Pokemon that has a GX, but doesn't have a free attack. Of course, like I said with Alolan Grimer, there are a whole bunch of Alolan Pokemon that have free attacks. Alolan Vulpix springs to mind, and Alolan Raticate, on whom I did a video just yesterday. Well, now we've got a free GX attack, and that is utterly wonderful, and it's pretty good, to be perfectly honest. What you get to do for 0 energy is you get to pull one of your opponent's Pokemon into the active, and then they are poisoned and burned and paralyzed. So it's like a Lysander with 3 special conditions. Now, that means they're going to take 10 damage from poison between turns. They're going to take 20 damage from burn between turns until they can flip ahead, minimum 30 damage, and they're going to be paralyzed. Now, the paralysis will disappear at the end of their turn, but that still gives them a turn where they're not able to attack, and you are, which is nice. Now, in terms of combining this with a first attack, it's not as great as you might think. The paralysis won't be there when you get back to your turn. They will have had 2 burn flips, one after your turn, one after theirs, which means there's a 75% chance burn isn't going to be there. So really, if they don't get out the active, you can only assume poison's still going to be there, which means you're only doing 80 damage for free energy, which is not amazing. The other thing is, and this is a very important point, Acerola. Acerola's coming out in Burning Shadows. I've already mentioned it. It gives you an automatic pick up one of your Pokemon as long as they're damaged. Well, if you use this GX attack, they're taking poison and burn damage. They will be burned and poisoned. They will have damage. They'll be paralyzed. But your opponent can just pick them up with Acerola. Now, if you pull an evolved Pokemon in the active, then your opponent uses Acerola and they can't re-evolve straight away, unless it's a grass Pokemon and they're using Forest of Giant Plants. So you are wasting one of their evolutions, but you're not really doing all that much. It's a great GX attack in theory, but your opponent can use Acerola. Having said that, you know what? You're still forcing them to use Acerola as their supporter for the turn when they'd probably want to use something else. So it's not the worst plan ever by any stretch of the imagination. And at this stage, I should really mention that there are plenty of cards here and presumably in the future, like Comfy, that stops any of your Pokemon with Fairy Energy having any special conditions, and like Pokemon Center Lady that removes all special conditions from one of your Pokemon, which will completely ruin Muk's entire plan. But hey ho, maybe your opponent won't be playing them, and there's a lot of people at the moment that aren't. And as we're playing Alolan Muk GX, don't forget that we've got Alolan Muk from Sun and Moon, which will stop the abilities of basics like Tapu Lele, like Volcanion, and Alolan Muk and Alolan Muk GX have different names. So even if you're playing 4 Alolan Muk GX, you can still play one of these Alolan Muk, stick it in as a nice little tech card. You know what? It could be fun. My friend Nick Pierce, hey Nick, thinks that Alolan Muk is being underplayed at the moment, but he's certainly a good tech in this deck. And it could really swing some matchups like Volcanion. I like the first attack here, I love the free GX attack, I love the high HP, and I like that it can be combined with the Sun and Moon Alolan Muk, but it needs a bit of a combo to get going, so I'm going to give him between 3 and 4 Wassies. Not a terrible card by any stretch of the imagination. But like so many cards, I fear it just needs a little bit too much to get going. But if you disagree with me, well, that's what the comment section is there for. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you are following me on Twitter at the Wassie, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and remember the most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.